Shabbat Shalom. Our parasha this week is Achrei Mot-Kedoshim. And many different mitzvot appear in our parasha. But I'd like to focus in on a specific subject that appears at the end of the first parasha, at the end of Achrei Mot, and then again at the end of Kedoshim. We see at the end of Achrei Mot, it brings a whole list of things, of immoralities, of deviances from the path of righteousness, specifically regarding familial morality and all of the different topics of Giloi Arayot and all of the similar kind of themes. And it says at the very end, Al titamu b'chol ele. Do not go down this path. Do not be damaged by all of these. Do not become impure through all of these negative aspects. Because these were the mistakes that the non-Jews before you did. And as such, they were kicked out. And the land became impure. It became contaminated. There was a process. We do find because sometimes God gives extra time, extra credit, gives extra waiting periods where he sees if people will fix their ways. But at the end of the day, the nations that lived in the land of Israel, they weren't necessarily conquered as much as they were expelled. ולא תקיא הארץ את יושביה. ושמרתם אתם את חוקותיי ואת משפטיי, keep my laws, my judgments, ולא תעשו מכל התועבות האלה, האזרח והגר הגר בתוככם. You need to make sure that you have a just society, that you have a society which follows the rule of law, a society that holds high standards of morality. כי את כל התועבות האל עשו אנשי הארץ אשר לפניכם ותטמע הארץ. Again, it repeats this idea. The people that came before you made this mistake, and they left the land contaminated because of it. ולא תקיא הארץ אתכם בטמאכם אותה כאשר קאה את הגוי אשר לפניכם. Because otherwise the land will expel you, and in this case, it will vomit you up. It will not be able to stomach you. You will be expelled. Because anyone who follows these acts, it brings karet. It brings an end to the line. It cuts down the tree. It brings desolation. It brings the opposite of life. ושמרתם את משמרתי לבלתי לעשות מחוקי התועבות אשר נעשו לפניכם, ולא תטמאו בהם אני אדוני אלוהיכם. You be careful, says Hashem. Again, repeating once more, don't go there. Don't go down that route. Fascinatingly, at the end of Kedoshim, where we revisit some of these topics, it says once more, at the very end of the parasha, indeed, be careful. It says, ושמרתם את כל חוקיי ואת כל משפטיי. Again, likewise, the same words, כל חוקיי וכל משפטיי, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תקיא אתכם הארץ. Otherwise, the land will expel you, will throw you up. אשר אני מביא אתכם שמה לשבת בה, the land which I bring for you to settle in. ולא תלכו בחוקות הגוי אשר אני משלח מפניכם, כי את כל אלה עשו ואקוץ בם. They did all of these things, and I was disgusted by them. ואומר לכם, אתם תרשו את אדמתם, you shall take their place, ואני אתננה לכם לרשת אותה, ארץ זבת חלב ודבש, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הבדלתי אתכם מן העמים. I separated you from these nations, and I brought you to this land, and I decided that you will indeed step away. והבדלתם מן הבהמה הטהורה לטמאה ובין העוף הטמא לטהור, and now you need to follow the same הבדלה, you need to separate, and so on and so forth. ואבדל אתכם מן העמים להיות לי, again, והייתם לי קדושים כי קדוש אני. You be special, careful, focused, otherwise it will all end badly. What's going on here? I think at its core, we have here a very a very traumatizing idea. Guys, the land is not ours. This is not our land. This is God's land. And we are here, as they say, by the grace of God. Indeed, Rashi opens his Perush on the Torah with the whole idea of this is God's land. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. God owns the universe. Birtzona natna lanu, u'birtzono lakacha mitanu, v'natana asher tov be'enav. God gave it to us, or he'll give it to someone else. This is not our land. I know there's the famous song, right? This land is mine. God gave to me, right? God gave this land to me. No, yes, but it's not ours. This land is not mine. There can be another exile. This is not the end. Even if we believe Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu, this is the final resting place of the Jewish people of the exile, yes, but that doesn't mean there won't be another exile if we mess up again. There is no promise of the land of Israel. It is conditioned. If we keep the mitzvot, if we follow the right path, if we have a core of morality, of truth, of justice, then this is our land. If not, goodbye. Someone else will come and take this land. And you will return when you're ready. That's the galut. It happened to us twice. We need to learn from this. This can happen again. There can be a third Churban. There could be chas v'chalila, destruction of the Jewish people in the land of Israel, and we're back to stage one, trying to find our way in the universe. We hope not. Be'ezrat Hashem, we hope not. We hope that we've learned our lesson. And there's much pointing towards, Baruch Hashem, the Jewish people going in the right direction. But I think it's very important that we recognize this is a possibility, and it is up to us. That's why Hashem says, Ushmartem, you have to go, to guide, to focus. Now, beautifully, I think the huge machloket, the huge debate that has been raging in the Israeli society over the last few years is actually raging about this very topic. The whole question of, judicial reform, the whole question of what kind of country are we talking about, at its very core, the whole question of Yehudi or Democrati, are we talking about democracy or Jewish values, and at its very core, both sides are arguing we need to do the right thing. We need to be just. Both sides are arguing we need to be moral. And each side is claiming this is the path forwards and not the other path. Neither side is fighting against the core values. They're fighting about interpretation of the core values. Are we afraid of a terrorizing government that will, oppress the minorities? Or are we afraid of an oppressive minority that will oppress the majority? But in both cases, oppression is the evil that we're trying to fight. And beautifully, unlike most other protests around the globe, in which very often there is a core and then an antagonistic element that is fighting against that core, in the Israeli protests, the Israeli civil strife, both sides were waving the Israeli flag. Because at the end of the day, we're both fighting for the soul of this country. We both want to stay. We both believe in the values of the Jewish people, whether we're able to put it into biblical terms, halachic terms, secular terms, but at the end of the day, they all translate into V'asita hayashar v'atov. That is a great sign, Baruch Hashem. We don't have people truly holding sway, flying the flag of immorality. as we might find elsewhere in the world, fighting for immoral groups, fighting for discrimination. Here we're fighting for morality. And Bezrat Hashem, if the Jewish people can continue to debate these topics and show at their very core, we do not want to be kicked out of this land. We don't want to follow the path of immorality. We're fighting for our moral core. In that case, Bezrat Hashem, I think our future looks very promising. Shabbat Shalom.